As a theatre historian, I'm always fascinated by the material remnants of theatre of the past. Theatre disappears, but it leaves us with some of these material objects that help us to think about what it might have been like. But we can get a sense of how the theatre worked, how the audiences might have approached performances, what managers thought about their audiences and how they built theatrical communities. And playbills are really great for that. So what I've got here, a selection of playbills. These are from Drury Lane and Covent Garden in the early 19th century. This is a playbill for Macbeth and then a new melodrama, Zoroaster, at Drury Lane in 1824. What you see from the material of the playbill is how flimsy and thin it is. They were given away as people entered the auditorium as a program, and because they were free and made out of such flimsy paper, they're now very rare because they just disappeared. As a visual object, it's really fascinating. There's this high impact information blasting at us from the variety of typography on the playbill itself. When you dig into it, you start to understand a little bit about how the manager is trying to communicate to his audience, and it usually was a he at that time. So although this evening of entertainment starts with Macbeth, from this playbill what we see is Macbeth was not the main attraction. This new melodrama by William Thomas Moncrieff called Zoroaster, or the Spirit of the Star, ! And that's quite important. That is the main attraction. The title is given to us in bold, big capital letters, and then we get the whole cast, and then we get a description of the new scenery specially painted for the occasion. And that's what's really fascinating about how these playbills can give us some sense of what the theatre offered London audiences in the visual, the material, almost the environmental immersion in the stage spectacle. We go from the hieroglyphic study of Zoroaster, the magic palace of Gebir, the temple of Isis. We then go to the centre of the earth. We go to the Eudophysikon, the beauties of nature and the wonders of art, to the Sphinx, the Colossus at Rhodes, to end up Mount Vesuvius, and then the Grand Falls of Tivoli. So an audience stuck in London in 1824, they can't just hop on an aeroplane and go and see the Bay of Naples, but they're offered it on stage in this wonderful imagined physical material immersion in the theatrical spectacle. Pantomime, this other hugely popular form in the 19th century, also offered audiences a tour of the world through the scenography, through the spectacle. And the bill here for Drury Lane, December the 27th, 1828, gives us a taste. This is the second night of the pantomime. Pantomime's always opened on Boxing Day. The tradition was that you had to watch a serious play first, so we've got the drama of Charles XII. But that, again, is not the main attraction. This pantomime is special. We have a double piece of paper to give the detail of this wonderful scenery in the grand comic pantomime, The Queen Bee, or Harlequin's The Fairy Hive. And we start in the Queen Bee's palace by moonlight. We go through Harlequin's bedroom, Brickfield's Islington. So we're in London, we're in the local area that the audience will know so well. But then the diorama takes us from Cowes to the rest of the world. We go to the Rock of Gibraltar, we get the grand view of Constantinople, and according to the playbill, the whole painted by Mr. Stanfield from sketches made by himself. So we're also being told by the manager that this isn't just a bit of frippery at the end of Christmas. This is authentic, this is true, this is real. So we're not just here for entertainment, we're here for education as well. And the theatre is part of that improvement of the world. What I've got here are some magnificent playbills from the Exeter Theatre Royal before it burnt down in the late 19th and early 20th century. And what we see is the development of the playbill as this very gorgeous, popular, mass-produced sort of visual communication. So we've got what we saw earlier with the emphasis on really heavy, bold typeface with lots of little bits of information, the scene breakdown here. But what we then come to in the next playbill, and these are related, is this use of colour. For things that are going to be pinned up on a notice board or pasted onto the wall or given out to put in shops and so on, these are really luscious, luxurious, popular, ephemeral print. What I love here is this little inset of a visual image. It's almost a visual pun. The play is called No Cross, No Crown. The image here gives us no, and then the physical visual symbol of the cross and the physical visual symbol of the crown. Again, the management is setting up our expectations. The cross, a wife's sacrifice. The crown, a husband's love. And below that, in quite small print, so we're going to have to get up close and engage with the object, there's a little bit of a review from the Sheffield Independent. Here we've got these playbills really communicating to the audience or the potential audience, this is why you want to see these plays and this is what to expect. And you're going to come to a world of spectacle, of luxury, of warmth, of light, of colour. The final playbill I want to talk about comes from the early 20th century, again, Theatre Royal Exeter, and this is much more like a poster that we might see in the street today. But what's spectacular about it, I think, is the use of this colour and the use of the typography as a visual, pictorial illustration of why we should come and see this show. So we have this acid yellow, which is going to grab our attention from a long distance away. And then we have an emphasis on Jack and the Beanstalk with the reverse typography there. But what we really are being told about is the grand attraction for 1 week only, Leonie Clark, and his wonderful performing menagerie of 170 mice, rabbits, cockatoos, etc. So what we've got here is a story of the ways that theatre managers both advertise, but I think also construct their audience, mould us as random passers-by in the street into this community that's going to come and see this grand attraction